Hello comrades, yes it's me, a Yorkshireman now living in Wales. And today comrades I'm going to do a follow-up to the Gwynedd Council and the what we got, Climate and Nature Emergency Plan, and that were dated 23-24. And as I did say, I was going to do some freedom of information requests relating to this actual plan. So I've done that and I've now got some replies. Now to make sure that each of the replies is looked at closely and given some of the consideration, I will do shorter videos on a few of the questions. Now, Gwynedd Council I applied Cymru, and all the councillors get about 20 grand plus extras for attending a meeting plus a pension. So, in my little world, they certainly work for me. Now, what I will say, if anybody from Gwynedd Council wants to come and sit down, have a chat and do an interview, I'm more than happy to accommodate you at any time. So it's like an open offer, always stands. One thing I will say about a Gwynedd Council, like any other council, I can't really change it. I can't change my provider for a better service, can I? A lot of other things I can. Other than that, I can't do that. So I'm like a bit tied into them, really. So I think it's only right that I do scrutinise them. So the first thing I did notice is when I went into Gwynedd Council is there's this little bit here, as you can see, influencing decisions. And they say, putting the people of Gwynedd, so that's me and that's you if you live in Gwynedd, at the centre of everything we do as a priority. So a priority means first and utmost, it's there, it's a priority, first, whatever, So we should be asked about anything, but we're not. Now, Plaid Cymru, the people in charge, and if you cut them in half like a stick of Blackpool rock, literally it'll say Plaid Cymru, but we're only talking rock, so if you cut the rock in half it'll say Blackpool. Right, now the other thing is I've already, if I remember, I applied to be on the Gwynedd Residents panel. Anyway, I filled the form in again because I couldn't remember, and I got a message back via the website system saying that thank you for continuing to be a member of the panel. Now, I've never been asked to do anything, watch anything or consult on anything, so I'm not happy about that at all. So I'll look into that a bit further. Now the other thing, you can also do petitions, so I will cover that as a separate one. So let me now get down to the issue. And the issues are, what did I ask them? So as you can see here, first question on the governance. And why have you not asked the taxpayers about climate change for their thoughts on it? So a lower level question. But what they've said, instead of saying we haven't done it, they've then sort of done a little bit of a distraction question. Currently in the process of reviewing our climate and nature emergency plan, and we'll be launching a public consultation soon. Now that's quite interesting, is that because I've not seen the public consultation, and they've already spent the money, they've spent millions of pounds without even asking our thoughts on it. Now the other thing I did also notice, as you can see here, is they actually came out with the same report but in 22-23, but I haven't found any consultations dating back to then. So why would you review it if you're doing it already? Now of course this plan, the 22-23 plan, was also signed off by the council leader then. So everybody knew about it, right? All the councillors knew about it. And this sort of leads me into my second question. And the second question is, when have the taxpayers been asked about this? Because I had a feeling I'd get an odd answer. And then they're saying it's unclear what they're referring to. It was all under the same email heading, and I've tried to make it really clear. And it sort of follows on from the other question. So what they're saying is, when the annual report was requested by the publicly elected councillors, so what they're sort of saying in there is, it's only because somebody else requested it. Well, no, I'm going to say that's not correct, because one report's been issued in 22-23, and this report, the one we're looking at, was 23-24. And the interesting bit, in 22-23, the ring-fenced money, £3 million, give or take, for solar panels. And then in 23-24, they've spent that money on solar panels. Right then, and that can only get signed off, I'd like to think, by the councillors. So the actual councillors knew all about it. So I'd have to say, that's a bit of a non-answer, and I think you're sort of trying to mislead me a little bit there, because they would know all about it, wouldn't they? Because they're the ones who would have to agree and have a vote on it. So maybe I'll look for votes. As I say, so you set aside the money and now you spent the money without even asking us. So I don't know when you are going to ask us, but please ask us, because again, you can literally send an email demanding money from me. Yes, it is demanding money from me. Not explain why you want the money from me or what you're going to spend it on, but you can't now ask me this. But you have just said on your website in writing, we are a priority. Well, clearly we're not, are we? So what else did I ask? Well, I asked also about buildings and the energy. Now let me remind you, if this takes you back a little bit, to their Project 1 and Project 2 and 3. And these projects, as you can see, about encouraging the people, that's me, that's also them actually, because they are also people, to repair and reuse. I've said already, I'm a big fan of stuff like that. Also modify before, and do all sorts of stuff with it. Basically keep it going as long as possible, don't throw it away. So the questions I then asked are about the buildings and the energy, as I said, and I wanted to know, the first question was estimated running costs of the heat pumps to be installed in 3 schools. Now I thought it was schools, I got that wrong. And then the second question I asked is, did the original boilers need replacing? Right, so as you can see in A, I'm not going to do the Welsh pronunciation, that's the sports centre. And according to this, the running costs are going to be about 50 grand. Now, my fault, because the question I asked wasn't specific enough. So I don't know if that's per month or per year. Not 100% sure, you see. And that's why it was a bad question. However, what it does go on to say is the boiler was installed in 1994 and needed urgent replacement. Now, did it? I don't know, did it? Because normally when you were installing a heat pump, quite often you have to change all the paperwork. So what I don't know, all the paperwork, all the pipe work, so what I don't know is, was the pipe work in good order? Had it just been renewed? Was the boiler actually fully serviced? Was it like just going to go on for another 10 years? In that case, then they should follow their own policy of renewing and reusing and everything else. But what I do know is they've spent about 180 grand on these 3 sort of heat pumps. Well, a boiler might only cost 20 grand and it might be a direct replacement with little to do, but it'll keep going and going. So then I looked at B, and B is a school. And according to this, let's just say it's 1,200 again. Is that a year? Is that a month? That's my fault. But they're saying that they're heated by Vinay heaters, which from what I can tell, you can still buy them. So are they obsolete? I'm going to say no, they're not obsolete, because I can still buy them. Now it doesn't say that they were getting past the date, they didn't work or anything like that. So why have you done it? Why have they literally wasted money on that? And how much did it cost, and has it been economical? Because if they're using the ones I think they're using, then that's still electric. So I don't know. So why have you replaced something which was working, and that actually goes against your own sort of priorities and your policies? And then this one on C is a residential home. Now, the boiler was installed in 2013, and they're sort of saying, well, that boiler seems to be working fine, because they don't say it was obsolete or anything. But they chose this building as the walls are fair-faced brickwork, and uninsulated. Well, I've got a best answer ever for you there. As you would tell me, and as you put down in many of your different papers, speak to an energy advisor, and literally they will tell you how to insulate it. So I'm going to say on this one, you didn't need to spend any money. All you needed to do was spend a little bit of money and potentially get a grant, which, let me remind everybody, the grant comes from us anyway, so it's always taxpayers' money. So it doesn't really make any sense, C. So B doesn't really make any sense. The only one which might make any sense is A. So what I will be doing in future, comrades, is going through my little bits of freedom of information requests in this sort of length of video, so I can actually spend a bit of time explaining it to it from my point of view. Right, comrades, thank you for watching. Hope you have a good weekend, because it's Friday here, and leave a comment, tick and subscribe, and catch you on the other side. Thank you.